Saddam Hussein was moving between safe houses in the suburbs. The bombing had been destructive, but hadn't inflicted the civilian deaths Saddam had judged would outrage world opinion. His former intelligence chief says when he briefed Saddam on the situation, his temper flared.
I
said, I know that Iraq will be destroyed. I am telling you the truth. Saddam said, these Americans are technicians, not soldiers who fight. They have technology on their side, but that won't help them win.
Saddam had already planned where to strike back. That morning, when he met his ministers, he ordered action he believed would shatter the coalition of Western and Arab countries attacking Iraq. Mobile launchers hidden in the desert fired Scud missiles at Israel.
We had the capability, we did it. When you are attacked by an enemy, you attack your enemies. That's natural.
The Scuds were fired indiscriminately at Israel's largest city. Saddam judged the Israelis would retaliate and join the conflict. The Arabs in the coalition would then refuse to fight alongside Israel. The coalition would collapse, and so would the war. Soon more Scuds were on the way.
Well, I wasn't told. I heard them. And I rushed out of my home to go to our headquarters in the Defense Ministry, and on the way I heard the Scuds landing in the Tel Aviv area.
Israel's nuclear forces now went on full alert. 60 Israeli jets took to the skies. Early warning radar appeared to show Iraqi bombers heading for Israel. The American Defense Secretary picked up the hotline to Tel Aviv. Israeli retaliation seemed inevitable.
You can imagine an American president sitting quietly as missiles land on the United States saying, no, we're not going to do anything. I mean, that's an unacceptable political position for any government.
I think it was Cheney that called me, and I reported to him on the hits that we'd taken. I had no doubt that Israel was going to take action. The question was, action when, and what type of action?
The Israeli army reported nerve gas in the debris of one of the missiles. Israelis prepared for the worst.
We knew we had a real problem at this point, because if Israel got into the war, this was a real break for Saddam. If he provoked the Israelis into attacking him, then the chances of holding the coalition together really became problematical.
I must say that this is the darnest way to conduct an interview.
Ultimately, none of the 8 Scuds that landed that night proved to have chemical warheads.
The kind of threat we're facing.
After some discussion, Baghdad had decided the Israelis might retaliate against a chemical attack with nuclear weapons.
Actions that are necessary to remove it.
أكيد بأن قسما من الصواريخ سكود كان.
Some of the Scud missiles were loaded with chemical warheads, but they weren't used. They were kept hidden throughout the war. We didn't use them because the other side had a deterrent force.
The man who decided what happened next was Israel's Prime Minister, Yitzhak Shamir. He and George Bush disliked each other, but now Bush telephoned him. An angry Shamir told the president if America couldn't stop the Scuds, the Israeli Air Force would.
Bush said to Shamir, pleaded with Shamir, tried to cajole Shamir that Israel not take any military action, that this would be injurious to the cause to the Allied cause, that in the final analysis this would also be injurious to Israel's cause.
This was not a warm and close and fuzzy relationship. But yet, for this one period, they communicated. And maybe because they hadn't been all folksy and friendly, it was almost more real because of it. And it was very, very straight, very honest, no flourishes, no frills. But I really think they got through to each other.
I think in such situations, you have not to play with words. It couldn't be a moment of diplomatic discussions and debates. And well, I explained to him, it's very difficult, Mr. President, it's very difficult. I don't know what day of tomorrow will bring, but at this moment we will act accordingly, accordingly with new concepts.
Israel became the president's top priority.
We were going to be redoubling our efforts in the darndest search and destroy effort that's ever been undertaken in that, out in that area, and I hope that that is very reassuring to the citizens of Israel.
But Norman Schwarzkopf believed the Air Force should concentrate on winning the war, not placating the Israelis. He was furious at Washington's interference.
He called them pointy-headed politicians who had never fought their way out of a wet paper bag.
As I told you before, I think Scuds are militarily insignificant.
No one in Israel was ever killed by a Scud missile. They did have some people die as a result of putting their gas masks on wrong, but no one was ever killed as a result of Scud missiles.
From my perspective, from the strategic perspective, and the President's perspective, and obviously I was doing this with the President's approval, it was vital to keep the Israelis out of the conflict. And that the way you did that was to make certain that they knew we were doing everything humanly possible to deal with that Scud threat.
Cheney overruled Schwarzkopf. Aircraft started to crisscross 28,000 square miles of desert, hunting for perhaps 14 mobile Scud launchers. They couldn't find them. Neither could they find the convoys bringing supplies of fresh missiles.
They used to transport the Scuds to us in civilian buses. They'd take out all the seats and slide a missile in through the back. Even if the bus was spotted by an enemy plane, the pilot would assume it was just full of passengers.
But there was another way to hunt Scuds. SAS columns were fighting deep inside Iraq. Schwarzkopf distrusted special forces. But 5 days before, the SAS commander had persuaded him to make an exception.
There had to be people on the ground. The human eye cannot be replaced by technology. We were well armed, we had good strength, we above all had the desert as our friend to retreat and hide into. We were told in very categoric terms that our priorities 1 to 10 were Scud, Scud, and nothing but Scud.
For 43 days, the SAS patrolled the Iraqi desert closest to Israel. They called it the Scud Box. This is the only film of an SAS column. It was taken by the gun camera on an American helicopter flying in to take back a prisoner. Within 2 days of the SAS arriving, there were no more launches from the Scud Box. Columns like this caused mayhem, destroying radar sites, microwave towers, and cutting communication cables. And when they saw Scud convoys, they attacked them.
On the 4th of February, we had a column that encountered a Scud convoy. They knocked out one missile. The engagement then lasted, I think, something about 4.5 hours. A young officer eventually called in the F-15s to take on the other targets.
Aircraft, this is Delta 2-1. Our location, 331203 north, 04102 east. Stand by, we're looking.
A gun camera on an American jet recorded the SAS in action.
Take a mark point. I got it. Bombs away. Go back over.
The SAS men on the ground are guiding in the aircraft and identifying targets for its laser-guided bombs.
Go. 33. Aircraft, 30. You copy that. Bombs away. Anyway. Smack.
Attack aircraft, this is Holland. That was on target. Be aware, there are my friendly forces, 8 vehicles total in the open, 500 meters north and west. Your original target was 3 launchers plus associated vehicles by the burning light.
Bombs away.
But it was a huge desert. The Iraqis responded to attacks like this by moving the launchers far away from the SAS Scud Box.
Dodge 3-7, you got him now. We're going home.
America had rushed Patriot missiles to Israel and Saudi Arabia to shoot down Scuds. In the skies above Tel Aviv and Riyadh, they dueled with the incoming missiles. The Patriots got as close as they could and detonated, filling the air with shrapnel. In Israel, the Patriot became a symbol of resistance, damping down the pressure for Israel to join the war.
Patriot is 41 for 42. 42 Scuds engaged, 41 intercepted. I view it as an honor to be here, to come to Raytheon, the home of the men and women who built the Scud Busters. We're very, very proud of you.
But the Pentagon was claiming a kill every time a Patriot exploded near a Scud. Senior British intelligence officers didn't believe the figures, and neither did the Israelis. On the ground in Tel Aviv, the Israeli military analyzed the damage every time a Scud fell to earth. What they concluded was kept top secret so as not to give comfort to Saddam Hussein.
When I met President Bush in Washington, we got into some human argument because he was convinced that Patriots were doing a great job. I told him that at the very best, the intercept ratio maybe was 20% intercept probability. He asked me what I meant by that, and I said that maybe out of every 10 Scuds Patriots tried to intercept, they might succeed with 2. But in retrospect, I was overstating the case. I think that probably not a single Scud was intercepted by a Patriot.
The Patriots struggled to react to Scud missiles traveling at 6 times the speed of sound. The myth of the Patriot helped keep Israel out of the war, but most of the Scud warheads got through.
Going to the ground, gonna get an impact.
Only after the war did the Pentagon acknowledge the Patriot's limitations.
Patriot was an air defense system designed to shoot down aircraft, not missiles. Again, what I remind everybody, all my friends in the United States who think we've got defenses against missiles, we don't.
He ain't Scotch, you bastard!
A week into the war, the air planners still believed by bombing Iraq they could deliver a decisive victory. Much of Iraq's air force had been destroyed on the ground. The coalition controlled the skies. It could bomb at will. Bridges, power plants, communications, all were destroyed. But Saddam did not withdraw from Kuwait. He was determined to sit the bombing out.
He would say, "It's no problem. We can rebuild everything, even the morale of the people."
You could sense the angst and anxiety and unease throughout the American body politic. Gosh, it's been going on for a week. Why isn't it over? Maybe it's not going well. What are we trying to do? And we had not been sort of on stage to explain what we were trying to do. So I went up to see Secretary Cheney and said to the secretary, we've got to do something because this is, we're starting to lose the public on this one.